You know how they felt about Cat? Oh, no, they gonna still fuck with Cat. They just gonna wait a little while to make it look nice. You know they smart. They don't want it to look too obvious. They try to fuck with them again like they did years ago. Cat was getting locked up every goddamn year for something he didn't do. They want the whole world to think he was crazy and strung out drugs. Right? They pull up on Shay Shay this year. Because when Cat went on there, he exposed a lot of stuff. And you had a lot of comedians and a lot of people in Hollywood that was mad at Cat for that. Y'all remember that, right? Now, we fans, we wasn't mad. See, and I feel like that's what y'all forget. When you got people like Cat exposing the truth, and other people that's exposing what's going on and trying to wake y'all up to make y'all aware, man, these are like cries for help, right? When you got individuals like myself making y'all aware, these are cries for help. But what y'all fail to do is that we risk our life when we do that. Look how they coming after me, mainstream media calling me a cult leader, trying to say I'm responsible for things that I don't even know people. You see what I'm saying? Never met these people, never spoke to them, but now for the person might do something wrong, now you want to say they did it because they watched Rashad Jamal. Pay attention. Wrongfully convicted of a sex allegation that I didn't do, and there's no evidence to even prove that I did it, yet I sit here anyway. You don't hear the Dr. Umars and the big people with the platforms that are supposed to be so black activists speaking up, but I'll expound upon that in next week's lecture about that. I don't want to ruin next week's lecture, but why? Because you got people in place that are actually puppies. They're going to run with it. And they don't just do it in sports. They do it right here in the spiritual community because we using social media to get the message out. But when you do that, you put yourself a target on your back. Right? And when Shannon got out, if you go watch some interview, I hear about it. I remember now, you went to this prison, you might not know this, but everything that's going on in the world, we hear about it in here. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people was mad at Shay too. Why would you let him come on your show and do that? They was mad at him. They was mad at him. Now, if they was mad at him, the comedians and the people Cat Williams exposed, how the hell you think Hollywood felt for Shannon Sharp? No, that's your platform. You gave that nigga a platform to do that. We would never let him come do that on no show on NBC. He can't go on the Tonight Show and do that. You see what I'm saying? You gave him an audience, and this shit got viewed over 100 million times. You gotta think now, TV shows don't even get the type of ratings no more. Them 70s, 80s, 90s ratings. You know what I'm saying? Remember how the TV had ratings? And it's going to viewership? How many people viewed the Super Bowl? They say this year was it 60 million, something like that? I might be off, 100-something million, something like that. Yes. Okay. That's the same way they feel when you got a video and they go viral on social media. Like that shit got 1 million views. That person has a strong soul. We show like that soul over here. If they reach the million views from their home, imagine what they can do with people behind them. That's how they think. Okay. So you got this episode you do that shit hit 100 million views. 100 million views. So if it hit 100 million views, you know, if we do 100 million views, then people gonna kill at least 5 people they see in their life. So you could say it might have 100 million views, but it reached, if 100 million people tell at least 5 people, that's about 500 million views. So 500 million people it reached. And Cat, one thing, when you put out things that are mind-blowing, when you expose information that is mind-blowing, word of mouth will travel even quicker. They can tell you at least 10 people. One person watched it, and they have them to tell at least 10 people. So and the way YouTube count their views now, they go 1 view per household, 1 view per phone. So you had 100 million people. You know, they told at least 10 people. So that's 1 billion people that are aware of that interview and everything that was said in it. 1 billion people. That's a huge audience take in the type of things that Cat Williams was saying in the interview. So you know what they did? They say, we see this nigga forgot who made him. He forgot who made him. We got him. We know he like these. We know, he been drinking all white venom for a minute now. See, some of the strongest white venom they like to use on us is that white woman. That's one of their biggest weapons they use on us, and they've been using it on us. They ain't just start with Shay.
Keep watching.
Shay. See what I'm saying? In fact, when you come into any form of money and success, they prefer you to be with a white woman. That's a fact. They don't want you with no black woman. No. That's black family. We don't want that. We want the interracial because they understand the genetics. We gods. Aboriginal beings. They want to mix that genetic. They want to mix their seed with our seed so that they can give their species a more chance at life on this realm. That's why back in the 60s, we thought we won integration battle. No, we didn't win shit. They recognize, because they are Zeus's creation, they recognize, if we do not integrate, they didn't know this white thing, they was raping us when they first came to our planet. When they first entered our planet through portals and causes announcements, they started raping us then. When the Moors started having sex with the human beings in the caves, after that moment, they started raping us. When they was conquering us, then this ain't just start with no sex, with no interracial relationships being signed off on. You know, that whole picture they painted about white folks not wanting black men to be with white women and white women to be with black men. That's BS. That was just a front. They used the pawns, the poor whites as the pawns to push that agenda. But I'm talking about the big dogs, the enemy that we are fighting against, the white supremacists, the Satanists that are helping Zeus to run this realm. They have always needed to mix with our breed or they will not exist. They cannot exist on this realm of Atlantis, on this planet, planet God, a.k.a. Earth, without mixing with the Aboriginal being. Without mixing with us, their entire species, the entire Caucasian race would die off in 50 years. They have to mix with us to extend their life. They have to have a certain amount of mix with us. This is why, because of the genetics, they can't even take the sun. You get what I'm saying? So when you take the God and you mix it with the human being, you get the demigod. And now their genes lives on through that child. They want it to be a whole bunch of little mulatto babies. That's what they want. So that you can't tell the difference anymore. Look at all your big leaders of the Nation of Islam. Mulatto. Dr. York said this years ago. And other great speakers. Dr. Ben. Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, Farrakhan, a lot of them are mulatto. Well, I ain't gonna say mulatto, but lighter-skinned gods. Because if they don't want that dark skin in position, you ain't never seen nobody dark skin run the Nation of Islam. That's by design. W.D. Farad himself was an actual white man. The one who they say started the Nation of Islam. The picture they showed, that's a Caucasian. I had a team pull the picture up for you. See what I'm saying? The real W.D. Farad was assassinated while in prison. This is a fact, but I will expound upon this later. Right? You look at all your top groups, the most famous groups since the 60s, 70s have always had light-skinned black people in them. That's by design. They don't like that darkness. They don't like that neuromelanin. They don't like that carbon. They do got to put somebody black. They're going to try to find the lightest skin one they can get right there. Look who the face of the NBA. LeBron got some black in him, but Steph Curry right there with him. Look at Steph. Who the face of the NFL? Patrick Mahomes. Look at Patrick Mahomes. You think that's an accident? That's by design. Remember back in the late 90s and 2000s, who was the face of baseball? Derek Jeter. Mulatto. Black and white. See what I'm saying? Like, so, this is by design. Michael Jackson was the king of pop. They made him light his own damn skin. See what I'm saying? Who the biggest rapper? It ain't Kendrick. It's going to be Drake. What is Drake? So I'm trying to show y'all something that you might not want to see, but this is what's going on. It's been going on. This is all a part of that white venom. So they understand that dynamic. They going to keep themselves at the front of everything. Right? This is what you call white supremacy. If they can't put one of their own right there, they're going to have one of theirs that was mixed with our own right there. They don't promote dark-skinned goddesses. No, they don't. They make it seem like the lighter the skin, the better she look. That the lighter skin goddess is much more beautiful than the black goddess. That's why they promote that to us. Remember the 80s? They promoted all the light-skinned guys as the most handsome guys. We just not getting back. Tay Diggs and Morris Chestnut saved us in the 90s and brought it back to the chocolate era of the gods, right? And we trying to get back to the chocolate goddess. Peace to the gods and goddesses.